Hi there, and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm making another layout using one of those large titles from the Dear Lizzie chipboard titles that came in the October Hip Kit. It actually came in the October Embellishment Kit from the Hip Kit Club. I've already made a couple of layouts with these titles and I'm really loving how they turn out. Here they are, they're from Dear Lizzie, and I have several left. I think I have 4 at this point. And so today I'm going to be scrapbooking these really awesome photos. It shows my daughter looking at those sculptures on the wall of those funny looking guys with braces. And then she looks at me and has this such a funny look on her face. I just had to scrapbook those 2 photos. So these are the other 2 pages that I've made with those titles. The one called Magical Critters is on my regular YouTube channel. If you didn't see that one yet, you can check that one out, where I painted the title Magical. And then the one that says Adventures at Girl Guide Camp is on my Patreon feed. So if you support me over on Patreon, thank you so much for that. And you can check out that process video over there. So today I'm going to be scrapbooking these 2 photos, and my title is really going to be the centerpiece of this one. It says not today but soon, and this is really this layout doesn't have much of a story other than look at this funny picture of Liv looking at those statues and reacting to them. And really, this is one of those cases where a picture, or in this case 2 pictures, tells a story of 1,000 words, or whatever that saying is. And so I'm actually not going to include any journaling at all other than the date. I'm going to use a roller date stamp to put the date on this page, because I really do think that anything that I add to this will really just take away. The photos really do speak for themselves. I think they're hilarious. And then to have a title that says not today but soon, it's clearly at the orthodontist, and you can tell by the sculptures and the chair that she's sitting in. I don't need to add anything else to this, and I think this is one of those occasions where less is more, especially where my title is going to be quite themed and quite interesting and intricate and kind of eye-catching as well. So the photos that I printed up, they're printed at 4x6 and they have a filter on them. I just put it through the Photos app on my Mac, and the filter that I used is called Chrome. No, I didn't use the Chrome. I used the process one, which I think it's a cross process is what it does. And it brings out a lot of the yellows, like those walls were actually like a gray color. It makes them look yellow, and then everything else kind of takes on a real blue tone. And I thought that looks really beautiful. You saw me do so. These are some wires that I have in my stash from some other craft project. They were actually in my sewing supplies, and I don't know where they came from, but I've literally had them for months. And I thought it might be cool to give this title braces, like to make it look like it has like just metal wire wrapped around it like that. So I'm just experimenting with how that will look. And I want to leave the title plain. I'll get back to talking about the photos again in a minute. So I want to leave the title plain, and I'm thinking about just leaving it as it is because it has a really nice white chipboard topping to it. Like it's very smooth and it looks nice as it is. And so I'm thinking maybe I won't do anything to it. But then I'm thinking I'd like it to look brighter and more finished. So what I'm doing while I'm missing in action here is I'm actually going through my stash and looking for what kinds of white products do I have that I could put on this title just to give it a little something else. So I have these Smooch inks, and I also have this Brilliance ink, and this Brilliance ink has a slightly pearlized finish to it. It's white, and so you see me just dabbing it onto the word, and I like how that looks. Yeah, I like how it looks, but it's not quite enough. So then I thought maybe I could paint over it with this Smooch product. I have 2 of them. One is really sparkly and one is just more of a pearlized than the ink would be, more of a pearlized look. And I kind of like played around with that, and then I decided, no, I'm not going to like how that looks. Then I thought maybe a second layer of the ink might work. And I'm thinking I'd really like this to look like a tooth, like to be really, really shiny. And so I thought, well, let's just dry it and see how it looks when that ink is dry. And it does, it does have a slightly pearlized look, but you really can't tell. It doesn't have that oomph. Like, I know that this title is going to be the main part of this page, and so I don't want it to look too plain. So now I am heading over to my stash, and I'm grabbing my Nuvo Crystal Drops, and I'm grabbing them in white. So the color is Gloss White Crystal Drops. There's the bottle right there, and I just had to kind of get it going. It wasn't it wasn't kind of coming out of the bottle smoothly, and so I just got the nozzle going, and now I am filling in this entire chipboard piece. Now this product is something that really works great for making faux enamel dots, or I guess they're not really faux, they're like homemade DIY enamel dots. So this is like a plasticky substance that goes on liquid and dries looking like enamel dots. And it has something in it. I've done a video about these Nuvo drops before on my channel, so I will link it to like I'll leave a card in this video up in the top corner that links to that video. So I'm using this in a slightly different way today, in a very different way today. I'm using it kind of as a paint. I know it's going to dry with a real glossy finish that is going to look like teeth. And I also know just from playing around with this product that when you use it in really large amounts like this, like trying to fill in giant spaces, I tried to make a Facebook logo with it, like with the hollow F with a blue square all the way around it. And when I did so, I noticed that it dried with a little bit, it's not really bumpy, but it's more like a wobbly kind of pitted look. Like it has peaks and valleys on it when you color in huge amounts of it. If I were to work really hard, I might be able to get it looking smooth, but in this case, I want this to look kind of like the enamel of teeth, how teeth have these little kind of subtle pits and bumps on them. Teeth are not 100% smooth, at least not natural, not most people's natural teeth anyhow. They have kind of little peaks and valleys inside, like on the surface of the tooth, especially on like the biting surface of the tooth, but also there are some kind of natural variations in the enamel on your teeth on the surface that you see as well when you smile. And so I want this, because I know that the product is prone to doing this, I thought I'm just going to go with it and make this look like tooth enamel. And so as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm just squeezing the bottle to get some of the product on the chipboard, and then I'm spreading it out. So I'm not squeezing the whole time, I'm squeezing and then letting off and moving the product around, and then squeezing a little bit more and letting off and spreading the product around. So I'm using the nozzle not only to dispense the product, but also to spread it out and make sure that all the surfaces are completely covered with the Nuvo drops. And that is how it looks. Now, this product, I think they say to leave it for 2 hours to dry, but I did not want to leave it for just 2 hours because I knew I'd be wrapping it with wire, and I didn't want to get little indents where my wire is, and I also didn't want to get little fingerprints, so I actually left it overnight. I left it a full 24 hours. Now I'm just going to layer these photos so that the little people on the wall are visible on both of the photos. I crack up every time I look at her face after she looked at those guys. She's like, that's not how I'm going to look, is it? So after I layered my photos, I'm just going to put them on the background paper. Now you saw me switch. I started with that striped background paper, and then I just decided that this coral color provided nice contrast with the colors in the photos. It complements them a little bit. I got some type of grease from my hands or something on the background paper. I don't know if you can see it. It's over there to the left of the photos. So that was a little bit disappointing. I'm going to matte this photo with that beautiful gold paper from Pink Fresh Studio that came in the hip kit from the month of October. And this is the cardstock from the cardstock kit from the month of October from Hip Kit Club as well. So I'm just going to take off the manufacturer's strip off of this pattern paper that will be my mat for this layout. And then I cut a half an inch off of two adjacent sides on the cardstock so that I could basically center it with a 1/4 inch border all the way around. And I want the word not to be in that little space between the two photos. And so I need the photos to be high enough that there's enough room for the title. And I want the same size, approximately the same size border below the bottom of the layout where it says but and soon in the bottom of the Y. I want that space to be about the same as the space between the top of the photo and the edge of the page. So I put down the word not, meaning I stuck it down to the page. And now I'm going to start by putting a little kink, I guess, in my wire. And this is just really, I don't know what gauge it is, but it's kind of like a thread. It's definitely thicker than thread, but you could cut it with scissors. I just don't want to damage my scissors, so I'm cutting it with wire cutters. But it's really, really thin, very easily bendable wire. So I just kind of wrapped it around the word 3 times. I know braces, you don't really have 3 wires when you have braces, but I just want to have kind of like an artistic interpretation of the look of braces. It doesn't have to look exactly like braces. So as you see, I just kind of like did a twist tie type dealy with the back of where the wire meets itself. And then I just used washi tape to hold it down so that it wouldn't move around and show. Like I don't want those little edges to show. Now I noticed that I was the wire was so tight that it was actually pulling the T in a little bit, and it wasn't like the T was bumping into the O, and so I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to untighten the wires, and so there I am loosening it, and then retighten it, but with the coffee cup holding my T in place so that I don't inadvertently push my T against the O again. So that coffee cup is really just there to hold down the T and the O while I pull the wires together. And then I just used a different piece of washi tape. And I just have to make sure that the washi tape isn't showing from the other side. So I'm just being a little bit finicky with it there to make sure that it isn't showing. And I really love how that looks. It looks a lot like tooth enamel. And you can get the vibe of braces from that, even if it doesn't look exactly like braces. So I just adjusted those wires a little bit so that they looked pleasing to my eye, and added a little bit of washi tape to hold it in place where I could. And that is an example of a themed embellishment, right? Because it looks like teeth with braces, but not really. It's kind of like an abstract or artistic interpretation of teeth with braces. And I really like that as the main element on this page. So I'm using Tombow Mono Multi adhesive to hold this down. It is my favorite adhesive when I need something to hold down that I think might be likely to lift off the page. And where there are wires underneath of this, I just want to make sure that I use really strong glue to hold this down so it doesn't pop off my page. I want to nestle the N in that little place in the T, that little opening in the T. And I want the loopy part of the D to go onto my photo, and I'm just kind of mindful that the word today is, straight-ish. It doesn't have to be totally straight because it has that cursive casual look, but I just wanted it to lay in a pleasing manner, and I didn't want to have to pick it up once it was down because I'm using liquid glue. So excuse my back there while I reached for my Thickers alignment tool. Now what I should have done here is put the T further in on the alignment tool, because see how my alignment tool is overlapping with that edge of the Y? It would have been easier if the T was right at the edge. Then I could have gotten that word right exactly where I needed it to be. I'm going to shift it around even though I used my alignment tool. I'm realizing that it actually looks better not straight, because these letters are not exactly the same size as one another, so the T is actually a little bit shorter than the U. And now I'm aligning this word over on the opposite side of my alignment tool, because it has to go on the other side of the descender in the letter Y. And so that allows me to scooch it in there. And I'm just using the grid and the lines on the bottom of the alignment tool just to make sure that my word is straight, because it's on plain cardstock and it's hard to tell if it's straight. And if you know me well, you know that I don't worry too much about things being straight, but I do want it to look like I didn't make it too crooked by accident. So now I'm thinking about embellishing. And I was thinking that these funky triangles might look cool on this page. I was wrong, but I thought that they might. So what's wrong with this? I mean, you know, if you love this look, there's nothing wrong with it. But what's wrong with it for me, what's making me feel like this is not looking right for me, is that there's too many different angles on this, and adding triangles just adds all the more angles. So I've got the photos at a slight angle, and I've got like but and not and soon are kind of on the exact horizontal plane. And then I'm introducing these triangles that are just too angular. So my idea here is to put a cluster of 3 different triangle clusters using the chipboard stickers from the Pink Fresh Studio Escape the Ordinary, which is the same collection that background paper is from, the golden paper that I used to mat this whole thing. And, you know, this looks fine. It's certainly, you know, it's more embellished than what I ended up going with. So if you like to have your pages look more embellished, you know, you could do something like this, like put an embellishment cluster in each of 3 places, and, you know, that would make the page look nice. It just wasn't working for me. I wasn't digging those triangles. So I am going to go with something different instead. So then I thought, let's try stars, because stars are a lot easier to cluster in my mind, because they certainly are angular, but they don't have that same kind of like need to line them up like I was feeling with the triangles. So I thought, let's add little clusters of stars. And this looks really great. I like this. I like this quite a lot. So, and then I'm thinking, yeah, I'll just replace that larger one with a smaller one. And then I thought maybe I need to add something else. So these pluses were also on the chipboard sticker sheet that came in the kit. And so I thought I could put pluses in 2 of those, not all 3, because it's kind of like, I like something to be unexpected and not exactly perfectly repeating. Then I decided that those are just too black and white. And I thought what I really would like to do is introduce some color, but maybe not a new color. And I'm really thinking, I just like it just the way it is. I wish I didn't have to add anything. And then I'm thinking, well, I don't. Maybe I'll just leave it as it is. You don't have to add embellishing. So here I am, and I'm taking this Midnight Muse ink from Stampin' Up. It's one of my favorite colors in the whole wide world. It's like a beautiful, rich navy blue, inky blue. I really love it. So I just put the date on there, because really the date is the only thing that I want to say about this is the date. Because someday she'll get braces, and it'll be kind of neat to look back and say, that was the day when she had the consult for the braces, and when she reacted in such a funny way to those guys on the wall. So here I am deciding to add these plus enamel pieces. The enamel picks up on the enamel finish of the word today, and it doesn't introduce a new color because it's the same coral color as the background, but it does introduce a little bit of interest because it's 2 different shades of that background. So now I have 3 shades of the coral color. And it kind of pulls it together, because before that cardstock really was the only coral thing. So it pulls together my color scheme nicely. I've got gold around the outside of the page, and then also I have gold on the thickers, and then I have coral on the background, which is a complement to the blues in the photo, the blues and yellows, and then I have coral on those enamel pieces as well. So it just gives it a little bit more of a pulled together look, but it doesn't take away from the title as much as the other embellishments that I had tried were kind of taking away from the title a little bit. I just love the title and I love the photos so much. I just want them to be. I don't want to add anything cluttery to them. So here I am with my sewing machine, and I've decided to use black thread to go all the way around the outside of this page. Because it's so minimally embellished and doesn't even have any journaling on it, I just don't want it to look too unfinished. So adding thread around the outside edge of this page just finishes it off and gives it that kind of finalized look, like it's ready to go in my book. So I'm just using a medium stitch. It's number 3 of 5 different lengths of stitching on that machine. And just a plain straight stitch and going all the way around it. I do like to start not on a corner. I find it easier to line up where my stitching ends with where my stitching begins by starting a little bit off of a corner and in an inconspicuous place. So I almost always start and finish my sewing at that exact place that I do on this page right here. So there we go. I'm thinking this one is done, and it is. So this is definitely a really fast, easy page. Really what took the longest was waiting for the word today to dry. Besides that, this page came together super fast and is a really clean and simple page. So I will show you this one up close. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. So here it comes, some of the video close-ups of this, and you'll get to see that look on her face again. Oh my gosh. She's like, oh no, I'm not going to look like that, am I? Tell me it ain't so. So here are the photos of this one. You can always check out my Flickr for any of my layouts, and I'm working on getting my Pinterest up to date. If you like to see the stills of my pages, for now, every single page I make is always on Flickr. It's on Flickr right away. So that's a great place to find my pages, and you can feel free to pin them or use them for inspiration, save them if you want to kind of scrap lift them or whatever. I get a lot of requests from people asking me if I mind that. I don't mind it at all, so go ahead. So this page was obviously a really simple and easy page, not very complicated at all to put together. I am going to be scrapbooking using all 6 of those titles. Some of those pages are up on my YouTube channel already, and some of them will be coming in the next week or 2. So stay tuned to my channel it will end up being a whole series on using large titles on your pages. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please click the button on the screen right here and check out my other videos. If you would like to support me on Patreon, head on over to the Patreon website there, patreon.com/MercyTiara. There's even more content over there, and have a really great scrappy week.